and welcome. I am Coco, your host for today, and I have not seen you guys for a long, long time. In fact, I think it was 2023 at the Local and Live Festival. So you're probably thinking, what am I doing here wearing this extremely exciting hat, saying Mission Motorsport? Well, I'm actually here with James Cameron from Mission Motorsport, and he's going to tell you exactly where we are, why we're here, and what he's all about. And you'll be excited to hear that we have found Mission Motorsport. Well, Gary Jeffrey, the founder of the original Soapbox Race, he's decided to launch a supercar event for 2025, and it's going to have classic cars, motorbikes, supercars, and the Soapbox. So who better than to support for that than Mission Motorsport? So I'm going to introduce you to James Cameron now and get chatting. Hello, James.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, absolutely fine, thank you. Yeah, really good. I think you look better in that hat than me.
Well, you're not wearing hats.
No, I'm pleased. Yeah, I don't need hats. It's not something genetically I've ever needed.
So we are at the moment, I'm going to let you explain, because as I just said, I was like, it's a bit of a mouthful.
So we're in an amazing place. So
yes.
We're in the Haggerty Clubhouse, which is in Bicester Heritage, which is part of this amazing Bicester Motion site, this former RAF base that actually it predates the Royal Air Force. So this was a Royal Flying Corps base when it was first established. And is now this centre of excellence for classic vehicle and motorcycle restoration and care. As a place to be where you've got singers driving around the place, blower Bentleys and tiger moths taking off in the background, it's pretty cool. And we're in this amazing clubhouse that Haggerty now have, the insurance company, who unfathomably have decided to spend a load of their money making this sort of really cool community space, and we're in the boardroom with some of the stuff that the amazing cars and people that you can see behind us.
It is stunning. When I walked in this morning, I was like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. And we haven't had a sneaky peek around afterwards. I know we're going to have a little sneak around afterwards, but tell everyone that's listening about, because Tunbridge Wells, as you know, is our town, and we do have some people from Mission Motorsport from Tunbridge Wells, but there is not enough people know about you, I don't think, down in Tunbridge Wells, which is why you're going to be racing with us at the Soapbox this year, aren't you?
Sure. Well, Mission Motorsport is the Forces Motorsport charity.
Yes.
So we were established back in 2012 to formalise one of the areas of recovery sport that's used to be able to help those who've served to ultimately become successful civilians. And I think people are quite used to the Paralympics and how sport can be used as a tool. It can be restorative, it can be healing. But motorsport is extraordinary because there's no separate disabled category. Mm-hmm. Because of the way motorsport works, you adapt the vehicle instead of people who've got different levels of disability or might have other issues. They're not racing in a separate category themselves against other people like them. They're racing on a level playing field against the able-bodied. So to use it as one of the recovery sports has just been incredibly fruitful. And now we're part of this sort of wider family of things like the Invictus Games, which is all about helping the armed forces community and to help promote their place in society. So formed back in 2012, and I think I was one of those three founders back then when it started. I was still serving at the time. I was not long back from Afghanistan and had a population of people who I really cared about and a sport that I love. And so for me, it was, how best can we bring these things together in order to be able to help people? And we're really proud of our work and delighted to be coming to come and join you guys for the Soapbox event later this year. I
know, and it's all come about, obviously, because Gary Jeffrey got in touch with you, didn't he? Because he'd wanted to get the event off this year. We'd wanted to do that this year and get the supercar event, but we did have a meeting and thought maybe we might be a bit sharp. Might be a little bit sharp. So we're going to do it next year. But I mean, this is just amazing what you do. When we came and saw you, Gary and I, it was just phenomenal to find out what you do. I mean, I had to offer you a soapbox. I had to get you as being part of it, because it's great for people to know what you do. Because there's, as you explained to us when we came and visited you, there's so much more to this than just rehabilitating people from the forces into civvy life, as you would say it.
Absolutely.
It's mental health. It could be disabilities. It could be just support within the community. It could be, like you'd said, writing CVs, like the way that you communicate. There's so many aspects of it that people like me who've not been in the forces may just take for granted.
Well, I think the thing that so I was in the army. I think what the army was wonderful for was all sorts of things that sort of helped me develop. But the thing it's pretty rubbish at is helping prepare people to be a civilian or to give you an insight into what civilians do for a living. And if we can help people, not just those who've served, but their families as well, whose service is of an entirely different kind, but no less creditable. Over the course of my career, I did a number of tours and sort of multiple tours of things like Iraq and Afghanistan. But my family, I think, had it harder than I did. At least I knew what I was doing. I had a very direct sense of the risk that I was in. I was surrounded by people who were incredibly supportive. But for my family, they're just managing absence and worry and risk. And I think that can be incredibly difficult. And particularly where service careers will also move you around, not just the country, but potentially around the world as well, is that they get tagged along too. And when people then come to leave, and particularly I think for those who might be leaving early through medical reasons and not therefore on timing of their own choosing, that cultural shift to work out what you are after the military, to have that sense of self and purpose is really difficult, where an awful lot of stuff gets taken away from you. And things which you hadn't realised had always been there during your military career, these handrails of support, suddenly aren't. Yeah. And it's unsurprising that some people do stumble and need some help. But this population of absolutely extraordinary people who, I think when you talk about trauma and stress, the natural words that follow it are about stress disorder, that post-traumatic stress disorder of not properly having dealt with something, a traumatic experience that's in the past. And of course, that's not just military. That can happen to anybody, any sort of stress. We very much think in terms of post-traumatic growth, in that the tension that people are subjected to when that is released is the thing that, in physical training builds back muscle fiber stronger, and makes you more able to endure, more strong to be able to deal with things, more broad, more worldly, more compassionate in some ways. And I think the thing that we very much celebrate is the amazing qualities of these people. And what we're doing is just joining them up with the amazing opportunities that lie in the outside world, and to be able to help make that connection in between the two.
And I mean, what's been there must be so many, it'd be hard for you to pinpoint one, but some of the most rewarding things that have happened since you've been involved, and obviously running the charity, because it must be incredibly rewarding.
It is. It is. It really is. And there's some sort of shiny stuff, like, I sort of mentioned Invictus and things like that. Yeah. We do get to do some really cool stuff. We get into some really cool places, but I think the things that I really celebrate are some of the personal things, which don't look like an awful lot on the face of it. But like one of the lads who just stuck his nose through here earlier, Jack Taylor, who was here really to take the mickey out of me, because I was going to be on the telly.
I know I did kick him out, but only because it's such an echo out there, because you've got so many people drinking tea and coffee and having such a lovely time.
There's this lovely community event. Yeah, absolutely. That's going on in the background. And in the middle of it is Jack Taylor, who was medically discharged from the Royal Air Force. He was a Chinook technician. He had a traumatic brain injury that fundamentally impacted him, the way he interacts with other people, the way his memory works, the way he processes information. It destroyed an awful lot of how he builds trust and maintains it, and he's had a really difficult journey, where actually he also had to fight the MOD over the compensation for the injuries which he received, and that can have a terrible effect in terms of disenfranchising people from the very thing that they've has been their identity and part of their community. And Jack's here today having a great time, socialising with people, taking the mickey out of the likes of me, and in a throng of busy people where he's got a purpose and a function and a job and qualifications that he's really proud of, and a sense of self which it might not look like much from the outside, but I know where Jack has come from and I know what that journey has been, and I'm incredibly proud of him for it. And I'm more proud of that today than I am out of anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the shiny stuff comes and goes, but that's the stuff that really counts, isn't it?
100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge petrol head. I love my cars.
Too.
I love that stuff. Outside in the back of here, there's a Rothmans liveried rally Porsche 1976 Carrera 3 litre that I was nasally telling somebody earlier has got the wrong spoiler on the back of it, because that's how much of a car nerd I am. But I absolutely love it. But they are just tools, ultimately, to unlock the great sort of stuff. And, Haggerty making things like the clubhouse available to us here, their hospitality allows us to bring together communities from different service charities here. This isn't just about us. This is about the Armed Forces community. So you've got the RAF Benevolent Fund who are out there. You've got Blesma. You've got some local charities who are participating in stuff as well. Veterans UK, the government agency, are here so that people can collar them to talk about the stuff which they really need to, rather than it being faceless bureaucrats.
Yeah.
They love coming along here because it's cool.
Yeah.
And actually you take out some of the isolation that can kind of form around individuals or communities that feel a bit disenfranchised and bittered, and to go, no, come together. There are people like you and there are people that care, including, believe it or not, the government, and to be able to join them up with that sort of thing so that they don't feel that society has left them behind. And that's a really important part too.
It's a super important part. And so today, we're definitely, James, my videographer, is going to collar some people later as they get out of, you're taking them around the track, aren't you?
Yeah,
Is it you personally driving them round?
I got handed the keys to something earlier and said, follow him.
Not the Porsche.
No. We're actually doing a 4x4 experience today.
Wow.
So they're going out round the very back of Bicester, but including climbing up and over the top of some of the old bunkers and things like that at the back.
Does it go through Bicester Village, James? That's what I really care about.
It absolutely does not.
It is Valentine's Day, as we've discussed before. That's why I love this place. It's Valentine's Day. We're recording,
Bicester Motion, I think, is very much a bit like a bull pool for people who don't like Bicester Village.
I think you're right.
This is do you remember in Father Ted where they left Father Jack in a bull pool while they were shopping? That's what this is for Bicester Village.
That's for all these people
It
here.
is, yeah. No, absolutely. These are all people who don't want to be shopping in there.
Apart from me.
My people, Coco.
No, I'd rather be here with the cars, to be honest. I really would. But but it's wonderful, isn't it? Because you get to take people out, and they get to either have a go. And you've got simulators here, I see.
There's a whole host of stuff here, and we'll try and do everything. So we run one of these here on behalf of Bicester, where we're throwing it open to the wider Armed Forces community, and you're bringing together these different charities, community groups, all of the rest of it, who tend to be a bit like, in the life of Brian, it's the Judean People's Front and the People's Front of Judea. They won't necessarily like to talk to each other. But if you provide something that's quite sexy and that they can all do, then absolutely, then you're just managing the queue.
Yeah.
And it's when you bring people together and you're doing something that's a bit fun, it's a bit different, so it takes them out of their comfort zone a little bit, that they'll talk to each other and they'll share experience, and it's in that way that you start to really build a community. And it's not just for those who've served. We've got family members here, we've got kids, and we've also got people like yourselves who are really supportive of this sort of cause, and for them to come along and feel like they're part of something and to widen horizons and all of the rest of it. Yeah, it's just a lovely, low-level way of doing exactly that, and that's what we're doing, building communities.
We can't wait for people to know more about you. I mean, I know we've got Sim Motorsport coming along to the Soapbox with a couple of
really
simulators, and they're avid supporters of yours as well. I mean, it's what other events have you got coming up? Obviously, you're going to be working with us next year on the supercar and the classic car and the bikes and everything else. What else have we got coming up this year? Because you do we've got all over the place.
We've got such a busy calendar of stuff. So we do a couple of Goodwood events.
Yeah.
One in June, I think one sits in September. Sort of amazing sort of supercar passenger ride events. We help look after the Armed Forces community at the Festival of Speed. So last year we put 200 families through the Festival of Speed so that they could come and experience that.
That's brilliant.
We run a big racemaker program at the Formula One at the GP at Silverstone. And also at the MotoGP race, where you get a lot of people who are actually families who go and camp and stay together and do the concert on the Friday night and all of the rest of it, who are very much part of that Silverstone family, helping people who go to the Grand Prix to kind of feel welcome, through to a national go-karting thing that's 36 venues, I think, across the UK, all of the team sport tracks. And next month is the National Transition event, so GP circuit at Silverstone, over 1,000 service leavers and veterans coming through, around about 200 companies, a couple of government ministers, and that sort of thing, as we're running this thing called the National Transition event. So it's everything from sort of routine, lovely stuff like we do here. And actually, once a month we're in Wigan at a place called Three Sisters, running some really lovely low-level experiences there for people to come and get to do some really cool stuff. So yeah, from sort of sublime to the ridiculous. And I think probably the ridiculous are the big ones and the sublime ones, to be honest. Things like today that are really small and just really bringing little communities together.
And what's been one of the most, what would be the word? Because not shiny or rewarding, but interesting projects. I mean, when I came along with Gary and visited your premises, I saw a few things that I can think of. But
we're at the back of the least attractive industrial estate in all of Oxfordshire.
I don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous.
It absolutely goes to show that we're not spending charity money on anything unwisely. And there's a bit of I'm a Yorkshireman. I'm from Leeds, so the idea of spending charity money is abhorrent to me.
Yes.
So I think we're quite efficient in what we do. We've had guys on doing things like livery stuff north of the Arctic Circle, wrapping vehicles for big manufacturers, PR things, or in the empty quarter of the UAE out in the desert, which has been really cool. We've got a girl called Daisy Coleman who, through us, started doing P1 offshore powerboat racing.
Amazing.
And she became the UK champion, then the European champion, then the world champion. Which is just extraordinary. We taught Billy Munger to drive again after his accident and headlined the Autosport show in the live action arena with Terry Grant, with a team of people who society would tell you are written off and not of value. People who've been medically discharged from the military through various things, whose head had gone down, then are in front of crowds of 8,500 people under the lights doing high-speed crossovers of 120 miles an hour, with the band of the Irish Guards stood in the middle of them. Stuff like that is really amazing when you're able to take people who wouldn't necessarily believe they could do it themselves and show them just what they're capable of. We hold 3 world hypermiling world records for getting electric vehicles to go further, more range than has ever been done before. We set off at Thruxton, fastest circuit in the UK, to prove a point and actually to break a French record with a Renault Zoe to, I think they've got a stated range of 254 miles. And, anyone who's sort of listening knows that EV debate that, range is such an important thing. And you have a stated range, which it seems impossible for the car to ever reach. And some Frenchman, where it was supposed to do 254, managed to get 351 miles out of it.
Wow.
And we sort of thought that's pretty cool, but we reckon we could do better. So a team of service spouses and wounded, injured and sick guys and girls took one little Renault Zoe on one single charge. Should have done 254. Frenchman had done 351. We did 474 miles on a single charge, which is just crackers. And, set off to go and beat a little record on that and discovered that actually we'd beaten a load of world hypermiling records just through the extraordinary qualities of the people who did it and the way in which we went about planning to do it to go further than anybody had ever done it before. So, there's some shiny stuff in amongst all of the rest of it. But I seem to spend an awful lot of time as well doing PowerPoint and presentations and sifting through a big inbox. But one thing is important for enabling the other as my role sort of changes.
Of course it is. And I think that's, what would your advice be to people that, because I always find that sort of not just that resilience, but that strength that, like you said, because it is tough for people, and you know, you're in a community, you're offering a community of people that are like-minded, but also able to offer support, but positivity, because the world can be bleak. It can be bleak out there, and especially if you do come out of an environment. I think I mentioned to you that you know, part of my family's ex-military and still in the military, and it's a different world. And I said, I'm sure they go mad at me when I complain about my nail polish, and they're thinking about what they've been going through, because it is a different world. I know it's a bit of an exaggeration but
it totally is. And to try and get people just to ask for help and to network is not something that comes naturally to those who've served in the armed forces, particularly. And when you're in the middle of it, it feels like you're the only one that's there, and you're the only one that's ever experienced that stuff. The big thing that we've discovered through engaging with the veteran audience, those who've gone through that transition in between military life and civilian life, is that everybody kind of feels, I really wish I'd known this when I was at that point. Yeah. And so by joining up these networks of these amazing people who are now successful in society with those who are coming along behind, you find your exemplars and you find help, and you also find that you're not alone. You're not the first person to feel like that. And that there are people out there who are really keen on supporting those members of the armed forces community. It's just getting them to come and take it. So, you know, and if we're honest with people and say, look, we want you to come to an old Second World War airbase where it's probably raining, you'll be with a bunch of people of different services that you never served with, don't know, and probably won't like. And then we're going to scare the living daylights out of you, and then ask you some pressing questions about the state of relationship with your other half and your finances and your housing and your kids and all of the rest of it. And then we're all going to have a group hug and talk about PTSD. They wouldn't come near you with a barge pole. But if you say to them, who wants to come to Silverstone to meet Jensen Button and learn to drift? Yeah. Then you're managing the queue.
I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have met him, but not drifted with him.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. So I wanted to ask you as well. I mean, what are your plans for the future? I mean, you've been with the charity since the beginning. What are your plans?
I clearly lack imagination. Yes, absolutely. So, and part of this is, we'll be shouting about from the treetops from the beginning of March, from that national transition event piece. So we run a big initiative into the automotive industry with the industry body, Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. Just coming up 5 years old. It has helped thousands of people into jobs with hundreds of employers. People who are doing things like signing the Armed Forces Covenant, but they're also accessing practical support so they can go, hang on, my business would like to employ people of these sort of qualities. How do I get to them? How do I see the wood for the trees? Because Google will take you to lots of recruiters who want to charge you money. You should probably start in the place that we as taxpayers have paid for first. And so we do an awful lot of support into automotive companies, and that in turn then helps them help a lot more people than would find the charity in its own right. So Jaguar Land Rover, for example, have employed more than 1,400 civilians. Wow. Since 1st of January 2015, so after that first Invictus Games, when
that's amazing.
Yeah, we really started to codify, to do it properly, to count and to kind of measure progress against it. And now that's across much wider, lot across automotive. You've seen Bentley actually have just signed the Armed Forces Covenant, which are a Volkswagen group company, is a huge thing. Stellantis, which is Peugeot, Citroën, DS, Vauxhall, Fiat, a bunch of brands. It's like 1 in 4 of all cars sold in Europe have now got an incredible armed forces program that's doing wonderful stuff. So encouraging that stuff into across entire industry groups, and that kind of grows. So we also have an arm that's doing renewable stuff across lots of renewable companies, including lots in offshore wind, where 1 in 5 people who work in offshore wind are ex-military.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's, they've got the right kind of qualities for it. The thing that I'm finding that's interesting too is they also go looking for meaning and purpose after the military. Yeah. Because it's easy to get lost in just trying to, chase a wage or money or all of the rest of it, and then kind of losing some of that purpose in there. And things which are around that, actually in the backdrop to us today are conversations with Solar Energy UK going, how can we develop a pathway for people to go into solar jobs where they know that they need 70,000 new people coming into the solar energy industry by 2032. So go, okay, let's try and work out how we can put some pathways in place to make that work. Manufacturing launches in March. Behind it, tech, IT and cyber. Behind that, construction. So yeah, that's keeping me really, really busy. But that's kind of a riff off the back of the wonderful work which Mission Motorsport has done since 2012. So yeah, we're really, really busy, but really grateful for the profile of reaching into Kent as well to do some really great things.
Everyone's going to know about you soon.
Jota, oh gosh, just what an amazing team, company, organisation that is. Sam Hignett and David Clark, and that which has been set up. You know, Pride of Tunbridge Wells. You know, I hope they're as known about nationally as they live rent free in my head. We did a lot of our early work with Jota, with the support of Mazda as a manufacturer, and actually some of the work that we did with that race team set the path of what has become the charity afterwards, and we're hugely grateful to them.
That's amazing. That's nice of you to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely lovely for us to be back in Tunbridge Wells at the home of Jota to come and use gravity to get down a hill quickly.
I mean,
how hard can it be?
What are you going to build?
I want to build a tank.
I told you I wanted you to build a tank.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the most obvious thing for me. That's my background. So it's Royal Tank Regiment. But I've got a bunch of colleagues who are talking nonsense about aeroplanes and things like that.
Because you do realise whatever you build, clearly, when you win the race, I mean, Dave's Garage are the current winners, but it's going to be exhibited next year at the supercar event, you know, Pride of Place.
Whatever's left of it.
What's left of it.
Because I also know what squaddies are like.
But we're very excited, and people are going to be very excited.
It just looks great. Yeah.
No, people are going to be really excited to get to know. And so people that want to help, get involved, or maybe just don't know anything about you, what's the best way, James?
Absolutely.
I know the best way, but you tell them.
Mission Motorsport, we're really easy to find. So missionmotorsport.org, and there's contact forms and all the rest of it on the website, but also through social media. You know, you'll find us on Facebook and all of those bits and pieces. We're really interested in joining up. Hey, we're going to be doing something cool in Kent in this summer.
Good.
There's also, we know there's veteran groups and all of the rest of it out there. How can we provide a bit of a platform for them to really come and enjoy doing something? And how can we just help to network some of these communities together to give them a bit of an excuse, much like we're doing here in Bicester?
Brilliant.
You know, down in Kent, in order to get like-minded people together so that we can just build that armed forces community. And for those that want to help and support or fundraise against us, please get in touch. You know, it's really easy to find us through the website, or indeed through you guys. I know that you'll help.
We'll have a page for you on the Soapbox website, and it will have all about your fundraising, and we'll be talking to you more along the way.
Fantastic.
And expect lots of pictures of your car. And then, of course, next year's event, the supercar event's going to be all about you guys and another charity. So that'll be a biggie. So
that's really cool. Yeah. What's not to like?
What's not to like? You're just going to have a lot of cars around you.
Stately homes and supercars. It sounds cool, doesn't it?
Stately homes. I haven't thought of that one yet, James.
There you go.
Leave that one with me.
All right.
Well, you need to get back to everyone because they all want to talk to you, and I managed to steal you away for half an hour. But thank you so much for inviting us along today. We're going to go and have a little sneaky peek at everything else that's going on and pop back and say goodbye. But thank you for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for
and I'll
coming up.
see you on the 22nd of June, if not before.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.